Hey, everybody, welcome again to another episode. It's the ShopNotes Podcast, along with John and Logan. I'm Phil, and thanks for listening to episode number 205. On today's episode, we're going to be getting a recap of the IWF show in Atlanta that was a couple of weeks ago. Check in on some shop projects and find out some new things that are going on here at the world's greatest woodworking magazines. Special thanks to our sponsor. This episode of the ShopNotes Podcast is brought to you by Grizzly Industrial, purveyors of fine woodworking machinery since 1983. Buy direct and save at grizzly.com.
Purveyors. I'm going to start trying to work that into articles where I can.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the word of the day.
Yep. Makes sense. Mm-hmm. So not too many comments from last week, or the last episode with Melbourne Tool Company, which was a fun episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's always good to have Vic on the show again.
Yeah, my parents commented that there was not a lot of comments on the podcast that I was not in. I was like, well, maybe their parents weren't listening to it and making comments. You know, maybe their parents don't care. Their parents don't love them.
Right. Yep. I mean, that's true. So
That's funny.
You got a chance to reconnect with Vic in person in Atlanta, Logan.
I sure did. Yeah. It was, yep. So I spent the week down in Atlanta a couple weeks ago. Brought COVID home. That was my best souvenir I brought.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I got to connect with Vic and Hag, which was pretty cool. I feel like such a small person next to them. They are just tall and like NFL lineman sized men. And I'm like, I feel so short, especially when you throw Jack in there. That's like 6'4". Mm-hmm. I'm like, man, like I need Phil with me. So I feel like average height.
You can be like the fullback that hides behind the line.
That's right.
Like,
that's right.
There you go.
Pops out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see during the Olympics, one of the, somewhere on the socials, there was a photo of Simone Biles with Shaquille O'Neal?
Yes, I have. Yep. That's kind of what I felt like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She's the same height as my soon-to-be 11-year-old daughter. They're the exact same height. So,
Okay.
Super. But yeah, so I had hung out with them just for a little bit at their booth. I got to see a few of the tools that I had not seen. I have their spoke shaves. Colin has their, which ones does he have? Their low angle jack and their block plane, I believe. Their joiner plane was not ready when we did our review of them, so I hadn't seen that one. I had seen their. Think about this. I think I had also seen their full size router plane, but I hadn't seen their mini router plane. So It was pretty cool. There was always a group of people around the booth talking to Vic, so that was funny. So that's like you're waiting in line to chat with them. So, but no, it was super cool, super fun. But yeah, it was a good show. It's a big show. The IWF show in Atlanta, for anybody that has never gone, it's the International Woodworking Fair,
I think. Yeah.
Yeah. It's in 3 buildings at the World Congress Center in Atlanta. It's definitely, I mean, this one's much more so than the one in Vegas, which is AWFS. IWF in Atlanta definitely has more like of our type of businesses and consumers there. Smaller guys there. Obviously Melbourne was there. A lot of Harvey was there. A lot of the companies that kind of cater to what we do. The Vegas one's definitely more industrial, and there's definitely some of that. There's a lot of that in Atlanta. But it's a 3-building show. I wouldn't say that there was anything like super groundbreaking. Harvey has a really cool new bandsaw that's like all digital. So it has a screen on it. So there's like a little touch screen that you can, you measure the blade tension and your bed angle, and you can turn the LED lights on that illuminate the table. And it's pretty nice. They also have a new, think about this. They have a new gyro air dust collector. I don't know what's different about this one than their other one because I haven't paid a lot of attention to their gyro air systems because that's not what I have. But John Economaki, the founder of Bridge City, was at their booth because Harvey is the ones that own and manufacture Bridge City, which I did bring home one of their block planes, which I freaking love. But John's an interesting character. And we were standing there talking about the gyro air, and he's like, I don't think you understand how close these guys at Harvey are to being able to make this dust collector without a filter. He said they are that close. He said they are so close to being able to build a dust collector that does not need a filter. I don't understand the logistics behind it. I don't understand the physics, but he said they are so close that he thinks within a couple of years they will have it. So that was pretty cool.
Huh.
What else did we see? I don't know that there's anything else super groundbreaking. Just connecting with a lot of the people that we know. Saw Stop, Shaper, Tight Bond, obviously. I had breakfast with a gentleman from Easy Wing Tools, which I think we're going to have on the podcast sometime in the near future.
Okay.
Or Red House Tools. They produce Easy Wing miter saw. Currently, they are designed for miter saw, like outfeed support, but they're working on, I think, to me, the more exciting thing is that they're working on brackets to attach them to like drill presses and router tables and stuff like that. So it can kind of be like you have these brackets on a bunch of different tools and you can move the wings to wherever you need, which is kind of cool. Because roller stands are freaking stupid, and I'll throw hands with anybody that likes roller stands. So that was fun. I don't know that I saw anything else super crazy. I'm sure stuff will pop up in my head, but yeah, it was a good show other than bringing COVID home,
But this year they had moved into the third building, right? Because I think
they had it last time as well.
Oh,
so
it was?
Okay. Yeah. So they have, if you look at the roadmap of the show, there's actually 4 locations because they have Building A, which is where registration is. And then that's where Vic and Melbourne was at. Shaper was also there, as was Harvey. So that was a really busy morning, or a really busy building the first morning, but it was a much smaller building. And then they have buildings B and C, but then they have a BC connector. So you have booths B, 1000. You have booths C 1000, but then you have booths BC 1000. So it's this very. I don't want to know what the heating and cooling bill in that place is. Like it is, 45 metric miles of air in there that need air conditioned.
Right. Yeah. Probably mostly air conditioning if it's Atlanta.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I did get a visit, a potential contributing writer, Brian DeYoung, outside of Atlanta. I'm super excited about getting some projects done with him. Super, super talented guy. His shop is what I see Phil's dream shop kind of being like, in the sense that it's a kind of a timber framey barn that is kind of open air. And Brian told me, he's like, yeah, it gets really hot down here because I don't have air conditioning. He's like, I need to do a lot of insulation in here. But he has like 45 fans around. So standing in his shop in, Harlem, Georgia, which is straight east of Atlanta, it's 90 degrees out. It's actually pretty pleasant in his shop with that much air moving.
Okay.
So it was pretty awesome. So I think I'll be back down there. I told Brian, I was like, hey, let's plan on doing this like when it's cool out, like January, February. And he's like, it actually gets too cold to glue in the shop then. I was like, oh, okay. He said it'll get down in the 40s.
Okay.
I'm like, oh, all right.
Did not know that.
Hey, don't chew on the pencil. I have a toddler in the shop now.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So
everybody needs a shop toddler.
Yes. Mine happens to be furry with 4 legs, and he has decided that a pencil is a great thing to chew on, which I don't mind that he's chewing on the pencil, but there is a really sharp chisel next to him. So anyways, but yeah, it was a good trip, other than bringing COVID home.
Yeah.
Nice. Did you stop by the Shopsmith booth? And I know
No, I don't think that there was one.
just to stir that back up again.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, John. So no, I did not. There were the one that I really was interested. Like, I'm always interested in it just because of what they are and what they make. The Felder booth is always super interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because it's giant. It is huge. And they have, I think, Ruan is the gentleman's name. He's the CEO of the North American operations, I believe. We met with Ruan, and he said, yeah, I brought 42 people for the booth.
Wow.
I mean, they have tables set up. They had a coffee bar set up. They have a bunch of machines set up. And it's interesting to me because I didn't realize this, because I think a lot of hobbyists know the name Felder. They make nice stuff. I mean, they make really nice stuff.
Yeah.
Their consumer line is the Hammer line.
Yeah.
So I'm saying their consumer line, their Hammer table saws are still, $10,000 table saws, $12,000 table saws. They are very, very well made. They're made in Germany and Austria. But it's always interesting to me to see their booth, because as much as I recognize Felder as like the manufacturers of Hammer, Ruan's like, that's such a tiny part of our business that it's not that they don't put effort into it. It's just not their focus. Like, their focus is giant industrial stuff like edge banders and CNC machines and all that type of stuff. So it's interesting how my perception of some of these companies is skewed, and it's not actually what their internal focus is. So,
Yeah. I have always liked the Hammer joiner planer.
yes. It's their Hammer A31. It's a 31 centimeter joiner planer combo unit, kind of like we've talked about before with the, we've had the Grizzly and the Rikon and stuff.
Right.
I have never worked on one. My buddy Patrick from Leather by Dragonfly has one, and I saw that in his shop, and it's super nice. I've never used one, but they always get a really, really good. They have a good reputation.
Right.
We had dinner with the Harvey gentleman, the owner of Harvey Industrial, and kind of his right-hand man, Toddy, and stuff, and John Economaki. And I told Jack is the guy's name. I said, Jack, I love the bandsaw you guys just came out with. The Gyro Air looks interesting. I said, but the people want a jointer. Like, the people want a jointer from Harvey, because they have shapers, they have table saws, they have band saws, they have the dust collection. Like, they have a lot of stuff. I was like, why don't you guys have a joiner? And he's like, you can't. He's like, and it's always interesting to me to find people that appear to be very, very genuine. And Jack's one of those people. He's like, I'm not going to manufacture a tool that I can't say is innovative. Like, I'm not going to just make another jointer. Like, he's like,
right.
I mean, that's what he did. So Jack is from China. And he was the manufacturer for a lot of these big companies. So he manufactured, Jets, Powermatics, Lagunas, all of them. And he started Harvey because he was sick of people just kind of making the same stuff and rebranding it. And he's like, I'm not going to make a joiner just because I can make a joiner. He's like, I'm not going to make it unless it's innovative and different and makes people want to use it because it's better than other ones. Which I respect that mindset. So John Economaki and I, this may have been 4 glasses of wine talking, but we started coming up with ideas, and we gave him some pretty good ideas for a combo unit. So we'll see if he runs with it. Because how sweet would it be to have a combo unit that you don't have to flip the tables?
I could see that.
Yeah. So we'll see if anything comes out of that. I hope it does.
Right.
It'll be sweet.
Be interesting to see like what wine-infused ideas still make it into the final product that you just don't remember right now.
I typed out my email to them after I had recovered from the wine.
It's just a brainstorming session. There's no bad ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's throw everything out there. So maybe we need to get like Jack and Shiraz into the same room for,
they know each other. Yeah, they know each other.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure they do.
So
there he is.
there's the gooser. Yep. That's this is our new shop manager. I've been asked if we could put him on the masthead as shop manager, so we might do that.
There you go.
So, yeah.
Only
he's
if you
being a
do
little
like the
crazy.
little photo and the profile about him.
Yeah.
Goose have any kills yet?
Goose has no kills, which is good. I don't know if that means that like mice aren't getting in here. And to be fair, I've never found any like signs of mice in the shop.
Right.
But no, there was a dead frog in here, so he may have done the frog. I don't know.
Yeah.
But man, I'll tell you what, shavings. He is good at catching plain shavings.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
And because he's all black, you can definitely tell when he's been rolling around with stuff because he looks disgusting.
Perfect.
Yep.
All right. Well, maybe once the weather starts cooling down.
That's what I'm thinking. They'll start trying to migrate inside, and he's going to be hunting.
Yep. All right.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So when you go to an event like IWF, you end up going with a couple of our ad reps from the greater AIM family.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find much, other than like tool reviews, do you find much content there or ideas?
Yes and no. Like it reignites ideas, I think.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that it is like new ideas because it's not, people aren't standing around doing woodworking. It's people wanting to pitch their tools, right?
Right.
But what it is it's like, oh, hey, I'm standing at the Harvey booth and I'm looking at their shaper, their 3 horsepower shaper. And we were told that we don't know anything about shapers, but for a while I thought it would be cool to do an article on a shaper, like why somebody would want one, where they're beneficial, and like, can you really flip out your router table for a shaper and have it be, a viable option?
Yeah.
And maybe a more versatile option. So like it reignites that type of thing, or, walking by, there's a, like Osmo, hard wax oil.
Yeah.
Finishes, Rubio Monocoat, they're there, and it's like, okay, I've wanted for a long time to do some articles on those types of finishes, so it reignites those. It doesn't necessarily give me like, hey, this is a great idea. Now I do have contributing writers that are there. Ralph Bagnall, he's done 2 of them. He did a stacking hamburger toy in popwood, and then he did some kitchen utensils that was kind of skewed to like the production style, like making templates and making a batch of them and stuff. He does a lot of work with microjig, so he was at their booth. So it's good to I say it's good to connect with them. I didn't actually get to connect with Ralph because they were always busy when I walked by. But it's one of those things that it's good to go. Like I hate going. I told you guys this. I hate going.
It's good to go. I hate going.
It is. I mean, it's when I'm there, it's like, okay, like I enjoy reconnecting with our advertisers and our partners and stuff, and seeing what they have coming out. And a lot of times we spitball ideas off them, or they'll spitball ideas off us. And I love that. And I love meeting people and stuff like that. I just hate the physical deal of getting there and being away. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad those shows aren't every 3 months. Let's just say that.
Okay.
So, but they are good. I did the other company that I got to connect with, Alex and I connected with them. It's somebody we've had a call with. There's a company called Grit. I think it might be Grit Automation is actually the full company name. Grit is a company out of Chicago that the gentleman there, I think, was in like the IT field in like California. And then he started this company, and they do automatic blast gates, kind of like the IVAC style, but they're definitely different because his is more of like a cloud-based shop thing. So they do a lot of like key card access for like if you're a college and you have a workshop and you're training people on machines, you can turn people's cards on or off to turn machines on. And part of their system is those keypad, the locking stuff out, the automatic blast gates, but then you get like all this like super cool back end data. Where it's like you can see what the running amps of your machines are, and it logs those, so you can log into the cloud and like say, oh, hey, I turned the table saw on at 9:15. It drew 4 amps on startup, and then 3 running amps or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. So I believe that Ben Strano and I are going to do a video with them here in my shop. But that's to be scheduled and to be determined. But seeing their system in person was very cool, and it was kind of cool because we were he was showing us the like back end cloud software that you can access it from your phone, you can access it from a tablet or whatever. But he's like, yeah, you can do you can set up stuff like shop maintenance schedules, and I was like, hey, what would be really cool is, not a lot of people think about this, and it's something we've talked about a long time ago. You could like inventory your shop in this thing because it has the ability to take photos and store photos. So you can take photos of your tools for like insurance purposes.
Right.
Because we talked about that where it's like, people have a fire in their shop and they don't know what the hell they had because they just, we all have a lot of crap. So.
Yeah. Well, and if you have a lot of things, there's going to be a lot of wood in there, so it's going to burn down
real fast. Yep.
And, to be able to make an efficient and effective claim, you have to have kind of evidence of it. So
100%. Yeah. So it was just kind of interesting. There's a lot of potential there, I think.
How much is a pile of oily rags worth, though?
Depends on which shop they're in.
Yeah.
One dumpster.
Yeah.
Yes.
This episode of Shop Notes Podcast is brought to you by Grizzly Industrial, purveyors of fine woodworking machinery since 1983. Buy direct and save at grizzly.com. So, let's see, what else do we have? Speaking of shows, Woodworking in America coming up.
Yep.
Goose is very excited about that.
Yeah, he's trying to sleep on my lap.
Yeah. And got a couple of new speakers for that. We have Matt Cremona is coming back. Had so much fun the first time that had to bring him back.
He changed his plans to make it work. Yeah. That's how much fun he had.
That's how cool Woodworking in America is. Yeah. So what is he going to be talking about?
Matt said he wants to do something on breaking down slabs into usable pieces of lumber. So like, which is this is kind of near and dear to my heart because as a sawyer, I have all these slabs. I know what they like. I know the potential there, but I know a lot of people, especially newer to the hobby or people that buy S4S lumber, S2S lumber, have a hard time, visualizing like, hey, here's how I can get parts out. Here's how I can cut around these defects. Here's how I can hide these defects. Or, maybe this piece of wood has wild, crazy grain. Here's how I'm going to cut parts out to maximize the look and the aesthetics of this piece when it's done. So that's what he's going to do, which I think will be a very, it'll be an interesting one. It's similar to what he did last time, but I think he concentrated more on like using big pieces of wood last time.
Right.
So,
which I think is definitely a challenge because when I did the Pullman desk and had that white pine from you, and then my sister's sideboard that I did in Popular Woodworking, those were all based off of slabs essentially.
Yep.
In the sense that, it's like there's sapwood here. Does it make it unusable? No, it just, maybe you are intentional with it and it turns into drawer fronts, or the sapwood goes to drawer sides or whatever, and being able to kind of think a little more nose to tail on stuff than just dealing with your individual cuts.
Yep. So that'll be a cool one.
Nice. And then we also have Mark Spagnolo,
Yep.
the wood whisperer himself, coming in. That'll be kind of fun too.
And this is how excited he is. Him and his wife reached out to us, which was cool. To be fair, I had texted him a couple of months back to see if he was interested, and he's like, "No, I'm done doing presentations, done doing live presentations. Like, it just causes me too much stress. I want people to make sure they get their money's worth, so I spend way too much time prepping and all that stuff." So he's like, "Nope, don't want to do it." And then they reached out a couple of weeks ago and said, "Hey, we're going to come up anyways. We're going to buy tickets and come up. What can we do to help you guys make this successful?" Which was super cool. Mark has always really enjoyed the Woodworking in Americas in the past. And his point when I had a call with him and Nicole were that the only other show kind of geared towards us is Workbench Con, but that's not geared towards us. That's geared towards content creators. He's like, you go down there and it's everyone talking about how do you grow your audience? How do you curate your audience? And he's like, I want to hang out with woodworkers and talk about woodworking.
Yeah.
So they wanted to come up. They wanted to help promote it as much as they could. And I said, "Hey, still open invitation if you want to do a presentation." And he's like, "Let me think about it." He's like, if it's something I can do like off the cuff, he's like, "I'll do it." And so he settled on he's going to do 2 presentations, one each day, on tools of the hybrid woodworker. And I think Mark's the first one to tell you, he did not coin the term hybrid woodworking. It just got popularized through him and his book that we also sell, by the way. So he's going to talk about, bringing hand tools into your shop and how those can complement and actually increase efficiency with your machine woodworking. So that'll be a good one. That'll be cool. And Mark and Nicole asked to get a discount code for the Wood Whisperer Guild, so we got that for them. He's trying to look at you guys. So yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be super cool. So they'll be down, and we also picked up one more that I think is going to be a very popular one because I know that he has done this talk at a lot of places. Done it at the Mark Adams School of Woodworking. Bob Brenke from Type Bond is going to be here. So Type Bond is one of our sponsors, exhibitors, whatever you want to call them. And Bob wants to do a talk on the 5 whys of wood glue. Like, I don't know how I'd call it like best practices, but like why you're doing certain things, why certain things work. I think a lot of people know who Bob is. Oh, you're not fighting me. Get down. If you have met Bob, and I know we all have, there is not anybody in this world that gets more excited about the chemistry of wood glue than Bob. And if you give him an inch, he is going to take a mile.
Right. What I think is interesting about Bob, though, is as much of a covalent bonds exchanging electron kind of person, he's also very practical minded as a woodworker.
Oh, yes.
Brush the glue on without getting all, super deep into the...
Yes. Yeah, Bob spends a lot of his time. He was telling me at the Type Bond booth down in Atlanta. He's like, you know what I really like? He's like, Type Bond Franklin. He's like, Type Bond sends me to Mark Adams School of Woodworking for training. He's like, so I just get to go take classes. Like, you suck, man.
Yeah,
we don't have a training budget anymore.
Yeah.
When I picture Bob at the event, I feel like it's going to be a Bill Nye style science. Practical science, like Phil said, of like makes it fun.
Yeah.
So, and interesting and informative. So
yeah.
But if you want to go full nerd, he's right there for you.
Yep.
So, all right, cool. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to the Woodworking in America event. I think it'll be really cool. We got a lot of great speakers lined up, and a sweet venue, and it's just going to be a fun time to get together with woodworkers.
Yeah. A lot of exhibitors as well.
Yeah.
I say a lot. I think we have 12 or 15 of them. But we have some pretty big ones. Grizzly will be here. Jet Powermatic will be here. Tight Bond will be here. Hartville Hardware with Logasol will be here with a Swedish sawmill and a chainsaw mill. So that'd be cool. So, yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exhausting. But
how related is a Swedish sawmill to a Swedish chef? Asking for a friend.
Well, and how related is it to a Swedish fish?
Right.
Because those are delicious.
Yeah. Will they also bring lox then as well? Like,
I hope not.
Cold smoked salmon.
Swedish meatballs from IKEA.
Yep.
Just a few jars of lingonberry jam. That's really all I need.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So other thing to talk about here is the last few weeks we've been working on an e-learning course on building the ShopNotes CNC machine, CNC 2.0. And going through that process tag team style, because we have Mark Hopkins is doing the construction of the machine itself. And then Chris is going to tap in and do the electronics and putting it to use. So I don't know about you, John, but it has been fun to be watching Mark work real time here in the studio. Like, we see him in the shop all the time, but it's not like we're just sitting there watching him like we are here. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because he has a unique work style. I think what's funny is that no matter who you are, or maybe this is just a trait that all woodworkers share, is that of muttering to oneself as you work.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. We've got a chance to learn English swear words. And you can kind of listen to the muttering and when you get to the frustration and woodworking, and so
See, I definitely talk to myself, but I don't like mutter. I don't think I drilled, like I was installing the hardware on this miter saw station the other day. Poked a hole in my finger with a Forstner bit because I was holding on the door as I was drilling through it. And I said some not very nice words to myself, but it was not muttering. It was very loud.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know that not everybody really knows that they do it either, though. Like, if we were to just put a recorder in our shops as we're going along, there's like a self-narration of, what you need to do, or some little, I got to remember to do blah, blah, blah and you just end up saying it out loud because you're working by yourself or think that you're working by yourself. So anyway, it's been, like I said, it's been a lot of fun to see Mark in action. He's become a really key part of what we do here and is really skilled in a way that other people aren't. Like, we just all work in different ways. And I think that's the funny part, is like seeing how, like Logan or John or Mark or Dylan have different work habits and yet create very high quality pieces.
He has the European way of working.
Right. I mean, it makes sense. Now, speaking of your miter saw station, finally done.
Boom, boom. Done. Yes. I put the final drawer front on last night.
Okay.
And why did I need to put the final drawer front on last night? Because when I was in the shop the other day, so these drawer fronts and doors, as you can see, are cherry framed with a MDF panel, painted MDF panel. I took our advice and pre-finished everything crazy. So I brought in drawer and door face frames glued up in opposite corners so I could still pull them apart and put the panel in. And I went to spray them, and I'm like, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to send all of these through the new Grizzly wide belt sander that we have. It's 15 inch. It's not wide, but it works like a freaking champ. Like, I think I walked into the studio and was like, I freaking love this thing. I keep saying that every time I use it. I'm like, this thing's great. But the first one I sent through, as I'm setting the thickness, I was looking at the metric units of measurement instead of the freedom units. So a 3/4 freedom unit is different than a 3/4 metric unit. So I sanded one of my face frame ends down to 7.5 millimeters instead of 3/4 of an inch, which is very, very thin. So I had to rebuild a face frame. So, but yeah, it's all done. It's exactly how I was envisioning it. It matches my SketchUp model like almost down to the freaking color, which is ridiculous. And I was telling John before we started, this is the first project where I've really made an effort to use the cup hinges.
Oh, yeah.
And I freaking love these things. Like, I always had this like big stigma, like, oh, they're kind of hard to install. You gotta have a 35 millimeter Forstner bit and drill it at exactly the right position. My drill press is tore apart. How am I going to do this?
And they're not as authentic as like butt hinges.
Yeah. I mean, but I did everything that's a door on this has a pull-out drawer inside of it. So I needed the door to open out. So I got 110 degree hinges so the door goes outside of the path of the drawer. And then I don't build kitchen cabinets for a living. So it's like you got like full overlay, half overlay, inset hinges. Like there's like, there are so many options when you're looking at these things that I've just always been like, no, I'm not going to screw around with those things. But I ordered a 10-pack on Amazon 4 months ago when I started building this project. And I also ran over to Menards and picked up the Craig jig to install these things.
Yeah.
The thing is super slick. It worked out perfect. I double bought Forstner bits because I also ordered a Bora 35 millimeter Forstner bit, but it's now two 35 millimeter Forstner bits. But yeah, these things are great. They have so much adjustment on them, up and down, front and back, angle of doors and stuff. So it was a little bit of a learning, not really a learning curve, but a little bit of a learning curve for me to use these. And I really like them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I feel like once you get past the lingo and the learning curve, and you're set up for them, and they're super easy and a lot of adjustment.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, because I remember when I did a cabinet that ended up going to my sister, and I wanted inset doors with kind of not real visible hinges on there. I just bit the bullet and decided to use those Euro style hinges, and it is a delight. They are a delight to use, and I can see the appeal. What I will say though is that there are two types of European style hinges. There are discount versions that go into a 35 millimeter cup hole and get screwed in place. And it looks like they have the same sorts of screws and stuff for adjustment, but they do not work the same way.
Yeah.
And then there are hinges that cost a little bit more, shock, but have those adjustments built into the fact that you can have the hinge fully installed and seated in the door and in the case and still make those adjustments. Whereas the cheapo ones, you are loosening and kind of monkeying with the position of the hinge itself.
Yeah. So these ones actually have the adjustments for everybody watching on YouTube. They have the adjustments on the cabinet mounted ones, which is really nice. So there's 3 screws, one's for left and right, one's up and down, one's angle, I guess. to like push the door, left or right. The ones I have in my house,
I think it's pitch, yaw, and roll.
Yes,
are the 3 screws that you adjust.
Yes.
Space Camp.
I know exactly what you mean though, Phil, because the ones in my house on my kitchen cabinets are not this style. My kitchen cabinets were not cheap when we built this house. They were expensive kitchen cabinets. But to adjust any of the doors, I have to loosen the screws, and then the entire hinge slides up or down or back and forward, which is stupid. Like, these, I wouldn't say that these were super expensive. I want to say the 10-pack of these hinges was like $40.
Okay.
So like not that expensive.
But
way nicer.
I just recently did a commissioned piece and decided to use concealed hinges, Euro hinges like that on those doors. And then I ended up thinking that I was going to have to buy them from one source, and was at Menards of all places.
Yep.
Where I was expecting, no offense, to find the kind of the lower end hinge. But they had an Italian made brand, Scalise or something like that, that was soft close, which was really cool, but then had all of those adjustment features built into it. And there's just something about the movement on those hinges, as well as the adjustability, that inspire a lot of confidence when you're putting them in.
The Menards brand of hinge is a Salis.
Salis, there you go.
And I know this because I had to go buy a different set of hinges yesterday. Because I needed it. One of my doors ended up being a little bit different size than it should have been. So I needed it. Well, no, I take that back. It was too tight with 3/4 overlay, so I needed to go buy a 1/2 inch overlay.
Okay.
So it had room to open. It was rubbing if I didn't.
Yeah.
So, only made in Italy since 1926. And these were expensive.
Yeah, the set I got was it was $20 for a pair, which I don't feel like, if you were to find butt hinges, like high quality butt hinges.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's all relative. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, just like looking at my Amazon Chinesium ones, that were $4 per hinge, so $8 per pair. These were over double. I mean, these were $19 for 2 of them. So
yeah.
And it's European, so it's pronounced Salice.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah. All right. There you go.
Now, the one thing that I always think I'm not going to have to do, but I always end up doing it in some way, shape, or form, is modifying hardware.
Right.
So, like, all my drawer slides in this, which there's a lot of them, the way these cases are built, there's areas to mount there's 3.5 inches in the front and 3.5 inches in the back to mount the drawer slides. There's nothing in that middle section. So it's like, I'm always like drilling new screw holes in the drawer slides and stuff like that. Which is fine. And I think it's something a lot of us do. It just is like, man, put one more screw hole in there, please, manufacturers. Maybe if I bought nicer ones, again, they were Amazon special drawer slides. I don't have any good advertisers that are that manufacture hardware.
There you go. Yeah. Plus, if you get them from Menards, like how much of your hardware makes money?
That's true. Like, it's an 11% return on it, so it's like,
yeah,
you can't get that anywhere else.
Yeah.
So, but yes, it's done. It feels great to have it done. This was what I'm sure everybody can relate to this. This was that project that never ended.
Right.
It
is always looking at you.
Yeah, it's there. It's like obnoxious. It's half done. So it just feels good to have it done. So
cool.
Yeah.
And did you find out any resolution on your bearing issue for the drill press?
I did. I bought some on Amazon or eBay. Yeah, so I went to I think I said this, I went to the Midwest Bearing Supply. They had nothing for that hinge. Because it was an extended inner race bearing. They did not have a replacement for it. So actually, so there's a gentleman, I think by the name of Brian, that messages me on Facebook occasionally because he has like the same drill press, listens to the podcast, and he had messaged me, said, "Hey, if you don't find those bearings, here's a link to them from eBay." And I said, "Yeah, I actually just ordered them." So there was a seller on eBay called Walker Turner Parts, of all things, and they had the set of bearings. It was 2 of those extended inner race bearings, and then 2, I think, quill bearings. For like $75, not super cheap, but they're good quality bearings. So those are here. I ordered my Cerakote for it. So I have my paint for it. And I have somebody that's going to be coming out and doing sandblasting in a couple of weeks on both the drill press and the jointer.
Ooh,
wow.
It's happening. This is happening.
Shit is moving. I know.
Yeah.
Shop manager, he made me start getting stuff in line.
Yeah.
Yep.
As soon as I saw little greasy footprints all over the floor, I'm like, yeah, I probably should get that cleaned up.
Crap.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it'd be good to see the jointer moving forward a little bit.
Yeah. I still have to get the bearing blocks cast. I had a gentleman reach out to me saying, "Hey, if you still need somebody to cast those." I think he has a foundry club that meets and they cast iron like once a year. And he's like, "We'll cast them for you." My other option is the Windy Hill foundry down in Georgia, who Keith Rucker had suggested I go to. Keith owns vintagemachinery.org and has that YouTube channel.
Cousin to Darius.
He's going to actually do the milling for me on those bearing blocks. He had offered to do it. I'm hoping he still will. He's now officially retired, so I think he has time to do them. So I may just have them cast there, and it would suck not to get photos of it. Or maybe when I get down with Brian in Atlanta to shoot a project, maybe I can do it all in one trip. It'd be a long day in the car, but maybe I can shoot photos of them casting the bearing blocks.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But yes, things are slowly moving.
All right. There you go. It's usually what people say the first few days after coming off the Iowa State Fair is that things are slowly moving again. So that's it for today's episode of the Shop Notes Podcast. If you have any questions, comments, or smart remarks, you can send them to us. Do it in an email, woodsmith@woodsmith.com, or in the comments section on our YouTube channel, where you'll be able to see actual video proof of Goose, the popular woodworking shop manager. Special thanks to Grizzly Industrial, purveying another fine episode here and supplying tools and machines for woodworkers direct and at a great price. So check out their stuff at grizzly.com. We'll see you next week, everybody. Bye.